Guess who's on new meds? What's up, y'all? Welcome back. I know I took a kind of unannounced break. It's just one of those things where every day it just kept happening and I just kept not uploading. It's really as simple as that. But I appreciate your patience. The long and short of it is depression. We've all been there, right? So I am taking measures on my end to try and get my feet back under me right now. Trying to get back in the saddle. I am really happy to be here, happy to be talking to y'all. And I'm actually really happy that like when I set this shot up, it worked the first time. I feel like that's just an auspicious start. So today's video, y'all, this is the beginning of my end of the year series essentially, but we're giving away all of, I think, the best stuff like right at the beginning. And that is because this is my like worst of the year. I have, oh my gosh, as I was going through my collection, first of all, the main thing that came to mind was like, wow, we need to do a declutter. It's going to be a massive declutter, huge, very, very satisfying content to round out the year. But the other thing that I came across was just like, oh my gosh, I don't hate that product, I love that product. You know, I cannot wait to share with y'all all of my favorites from this year, so that will be the next video. But I have here a bag of all the stuff that I want to complain about today. And I'll preface this by saying, I mean, we're all mature individuals, and I think we've talked exhaustively lately on my channel about how nothing is really necessarily like a purely bad product. I don't think there's any such thing as a purely good product necessarily. There's just kind of a scale of what I would recommend and what I wouldn't recommend, and sometimes the reasons that I recommend things or don't recommend things are a switcheroo of why you might enjoy or not enjoy them based on our likes and our skin and our, you know, whatever. So that is what I want you to kind of bear in mind as we're talking about this, because I'm going to try and give you as much nuance as possible as to why these products didn't wow me. And the bottom line is, if you have the same or similar expectations or wants from these products, I want to tell you why I'd like you to save your money and not buy them. Because that's my job at the end of the day. It's not, is it good or is it bad? It's like, do I recommend you trade your money for it? Because in good conscience, like I feel like this is doing just as much of a service as trying to find the best of anything. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is just the first thing in the bag, and it's the biggest one in the bag, so I'm gonna just go ahead and make some room by talking about it. The biggest problem here is the difference between expectation and reality, because no one pays $105 for a Byredo palette thinking, maybe I won't like it. You trade that amount of money for something because you think you're gonna really like it. You think it's gonna blow your mind, and my socks are on. This is a palette that I think has maybe like 2 useful shades in it for me, which is hilarious when you look at it because it's like, it's all blushy, bronzy colors. It should work beautifully. First of all, when you get, oh, I left the sound on my phone. Hi, Natalie. I'm not cutting that out. First of all, and also it makes sense because I think Natalie really likes this palette, so that's funny. And I know Steph likes this palette too. You know, that just, it's all about the nuance of what I was expecting versus what I got here. So this is the Byredo Remembrance palette. First of all, I expected to like the packaging more. This is just really weird. Like, I just feel like there's so many other things that we could have done than this. It's not giving luxury. It's just very odd. I'm like, okay, I get it, art, but like there was a Lancome palette that came out earlier this year that like I don't want, but they made, I think it was like a partnership with the Louvre. It was amazing. You know what I mean? It was just beautiful to look at. I was like, I feel like we missed the mark on trying to do some kind of like Renaissance art here. It's just like, what is that? Is Maya? Is she still a Byredo? I'm not sure, but like, I'm sure there's something that I just am missing here, but it just doesn't appeal to me on just a surface level. So when you get into the palette, I thought that this was going to end up being like a bunch of really nuanced shades that are high performance eyeshadow versions of like blushy, bronzy, bedroomized tones that I was going to get a ton of use out of because that's kind of the colors that I go for anyway. Problem 1, the wear time is non-existent. For someone who has very dry eyelids, like things don't tend to kind of crease and slip around on me, not in any kind of deal breaker way. This didn't even like crease or slip around, it just disappears. I just couldn't get any wear time out of them. It was really annoying. And then the only real colors that I found to be like useful in terms of like building a look were like this really dark brown and then this like medium brown right here. This suffers from the same thing that a lot of the Dior Quints do and the Chanel Quads do, where everything is medium, like in terms of tone value. So you're not getting depth from shadow and light. You're not able to create contrast. There's also not a lot of difference in temperature here. They're all kind of medium warm. And I know what you're thinking, okay, well, I see some silvers. Yeah, For the only cool tones and the only pale tones to be silver, I don't know. I was hoping for maybe something a little more usable, like maybe that this color was gonna lean a little bit more oyster, not so like lavender silver. But the problem also, yeah, it's so lavender. The problem also to me is that these three silvers are the most gorgeous finishes in the entire palette. And I don't want to use any of those on my eyes because those are just like not colors that really flatter me. I just thought that we would be able to bend to fit. These would be nice toppers, but they're just not. They're like for people who like silver eyeshadow. So in that sense, that was a me problem, but that's still only 3 shades out of 15. Like you'd think that I'd be able to get something more usable out of these. And it's the medium tone value that makes it really frustrating because I like using all of the means at my disposal in terms of color theory and texture and shadow and light to like distort even, you know, the depth of my eyes and really enhance it. And I just felt like this was just kind of like a palette of colors that didn't have any congruity. Did I just make that word up? It's a shame that the only language that I speak is English and I still am just like, is that a word? I don't know. Congruousness? It didn't congru. And that's just the first product. All right, on to the next. This one I'm going to couch in a lot of nuance, but I'm also going to tell you, I don't know, a pretty flat opinion on it. The flat opinion on this is that I don't think that it works. This is the Hydro Blast powder from Uma, and the nuance that I want to couch this in is that Uma is a beautiful, extremely nuanced, you know, very aware Black-owned brand that makes some incredible complexion products for all skin tones, but specifically they do a great job for, you know, people who need more oil control. So when I heard Hydro Blast versus their other powder, which didn't work for me, but it's not worth mentioning because it's like literally not for my skin type. I feel like, duh, you know what I mean? Like no one really like cares what I think about that powder. It's not for me. I felt like this was more for me. It's got the water in it. It's supposed to be kind of a hydrating powder and I was excited to try it. It's also a really beautiful component. It's in glass. I feel like they did a really good job with all of their releases this year in terms of the packaging. I really feel like they're just like upping their game. I mean, not that it was bad to begin with, but everything feels really, really thought out, very considered right now. And so the idea of this is that it's supposed to be, you know, a powder that's also hydrating and you feel this really nice kind of wet sensation when you put it on. I have used powders like that before. Becca had one, I remember liking okay. And before that, Prescriptives had one. If y'all remember Prescriptives, there's the magic powder and it did that. This I think has even more water in it than those. I think it boasts something really high, like, I don't know, it's like 18% or something. I'm just pulling that out. But I mean, it's just a lot. And it makes your brush wet. That's weird to me because I think that like it's important to have, you know, the suspension and everything. Like I think that that's a cool thing and I've seen it function before. But there's too much water and it makes your brush wet and it makes it kind of unusable. And I don't think that that has anything to do with skin type, you know? Like I think that like if you dry, oily, whatever, you're gonna be like, why is my brush wet? I'm trying to put on powder and it just kind of makes a dough, if you think about it. Powder plus water, it's just gonna make kind of like a weird paste. And that was my experience with it. I could not get it to go on evenly. It just kind of made a paste when I applied it. So this was kind of an unfortunate miss. I feel like it could have been right on the money. I mean, let's keep going with some powders because I feel like it's going to allow me to have more nuanced takes if I'm comparing one to the next kind of thing. So the next one is the Laura Mercier Real Flawless Luminous Perfecting Pressed Powder. This is one of those things that Tom and I were talking about in the podcast, the episode that just came out this week, where we were just like, some of these brands, they just have these mouthful products. It's like, Laura Mercier powder, okay? That's what people are gonna Google. Don't make it like that. But either way, this one's a mouthful. And I ended up, why is it that when I don't like a product, I end up with 3 of them? I have so many of these. It's like, what am I gonna do with this? So I sent one to Tom and then I still have one in the box, in the drawer. Like if anybody ever wants one that's in my life, you know, knock yourself out. But like also, I don't recommend it. Unless you want a highlighter, I guess. But like this is a shiny, shimmery yellow powder for being the, you know, translucent shade. It's dark for me and it's kind of gold and it's shimmery and it actually like adds coverage. Like it missed the mark in terms of luminosity. I love a luminous powder, I do, but it's so easy for it to cross over the other way and become something that's like, that's a highlighter. It's almost there. It's almost a highlighter, and I felt like it not only over mattified my skin, especially knowing what Laura Mercier is capable of with a translucent setting powder. This one feels like it was done by a totally different team, you know? They were like, IDK, what's a powder that didn't, like, they're new here kind of thing. And so the over mattification plus it was like the wrong color made it so that it was just accentuating so much texture on my skin. So much texture. Like, don't use it on your under eyes. Just don't use it. It made me look like a weird kind of Tin Man strobe thing, and now I have 3 of them. Like 2 still. I mean, what's left to say about this? This is the Melt Glazed Skin Sheer Finishing Powder. You know, they were trying to piggyback on the glazed skin, donut skin trend, right? I know that there are people who exist out there, you know, influencers and things like that who like this, but we have different taste. Let me just say, like, we just have different taste because I really don't like this, like, on any level. So this is the fair shade. You can see it's quite peach, and so it does add quite a bit of coverage, and it is so iridescent, like completely light reflecting. I'll take like a lighter swatch than that so you can see. Well, I tried to take a lighter swatch. I'll blend it out. It is so heavy feeling on the skin. So even, look at that. I rubbed that so that it was just totally sheer, and what it did was it created a very believable highlight on the skin, but that is not what I want from a setting powder. Like, I did wonder when I saw like the Trend Mood post of this being released, I was like, what do they mean glazed skin powder? And I like had to know. But what they meant was that it was going to be iridescent, not that it was going to be hydrated or like a luminous finish. It doesn't give luminous, it gives shimmer, it gives eyeshadow, it gives highlighter. And especially on top of something like as a complexion product that needs to be powdered, it soaks so much of it up, it wears so heavily. I mean, it's like instant cake face on me. So I could not recommend this enough. 0 stars. Let's talk about some complexion products here. This was the first thing that I reviewed this year. Oh, the way that we collectively, as a beauty reviewing community, wanted to figure this one out. It wasn't that like we hated it, and it also wasn't that any of us was like trying to get into the good graces of like Mario. No one's sitting here being like, oh, I think Mario is going to care what I think of his foundation. It was just that like, it gave us hope. Like when you put it on, it gives you hope, and then it just kind of like flatlines, and you're like, I can't put my finger on why this is just, it's just not working. It's so dewy. And it doesn't really want to dry down. Sorry, this is the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. This is his only foundation. So like, you know, I felt like I didn't need to get that information, but I should. This probably has the distinction of all the things that I tried this year of like, I tried this more times, trying to get it to work than anything else before like giving up on it. And it really took me having opinions and then for once like checking in on all of my friends' opinions to be like, hey, yo, like, are you able to make this work? Because like, I don't know. And it was all of the other people too, just being like, I really tried. And Tom makes a great point about this because Tom, the Hobus Tom, has worked in actual, you know, doing makeup artist work kind of thing and worked at Sephora and stuff like that. Makes a great point about like makeup artist owned brands, especially when it comes to complexion product. You want something that's kind of squarely in the middle so that you can make it dewier or make it more mattified for multiple different skin types when you're, you know, carrying something around in your kit. And this is just so far on the end of the dewy wet spectrum that it just doesn't really make any sense. I felt like the wear time was pretty non-existent because as soon as you tried to powder it, it just like soaked it up and got weird. And it was just something that like didn't seem to want to communicate with my skin. There was no kumbaya happening. And that's the most I can really say about it. It just underperformed. Like it was just something that like we had really high expectations about that clouded our vision, but like none of us was sitting here going, yes, this is good. We were going, I'm confused, instead of just saying outright, like, this isn't good. And like, now I can tell you outright, like, it's just not good. And I certainly don't recommend you spend your money on it. Ooh, okay. This is a case of I don't really know how I feel about this because I have the wrong shade in it. But this is the Euphoria Date Night Skin Tint Serum Foundation. the words are so small. But the issue here is that in the year of our Lord 2023, and I know we talk about how like it's the socially accessible brands, the indie brands, the ones who are kind of making more of a conscious effort to at least say they're inclusive, that get more of our scrutiny and we look more closely at them because of that. Whereas like, you know, Chanel remains unaccountable and all those, you know, big fashion brands remain unaccountable because there's no one to talk to and they're not claiming to be inclusive, you know? And it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We're always kind of like, as consumers, sort of like trying to figure out which one is worse there. Because in this case, a brand like Youthforia, this is a brand that like by all rights should have releases that are super aware, right? But not only was this foundation, like the shade range was small and then they pulled the crap where they were like, well, we're gonna expand it later to include deeper skin tones. But also I didn't find it, it found me, the way that all things find you in the algorithm. A Black creator on TikTok who has very dark skin, who tends to order the darkest tone in, you know, different foundations, and then she'll swatch them. But the main thing there was they had altered the image online to look like it would match her. And then she got the darkest shade in her hand and realized like the model's skin, everybody, you know, in the pictures online, like that wasn't what they were selling. And the picture didn't match the shade. And I just found that to be deplorable behavior. And you know, the influencer pointed out that like this isn't the only brand doing it, but that like Hourglass has done it. I forget who else, but this is a pretty common practice, but like this was what she exposed it on. And I wanted to, you know, point that out. Like I don't recommend this, and especially if you have deep skin, because the swatches online don't match. They're like not what you're getting. So like don't buy it. It was a complexion year, okay, y'all? And you know what? When things rise to the top, it means some things drop to the bottom, even if they're okay. I landed on this being okay. I have given away, this is another case of like, I have more bottles of this than I have so many of them. I bought some. I accidentally got a second set that I bought, that like from when I bought it, and I gave that to Tom. And then I gave one to Rebecca, and then I gave one to my sister. And I still have like at least 3 of these Glossier stretch foundations just, you know, lollygagging around in my collection. I hate having doubles, but they are all different shades, and so it's like as people come over to my house, I'm like, do you want? But my sister has an affinity for very, 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 very dewy skin, and so she actually really liked it. And when she first put it on, she was, you know, putting it on with her fingers, which Tom said is their favorite way of actually applying it, like best way to get it to work. But immediately, you know, she kind of spread a couple on her face, like swatches on her face, and she was like, oh my god, it's way too much. And I just like gave her a towel. I was like, I know. The key here is that you really shouldn't wear much of this at all. But even so, I personally find it not to be kind of holy grail territory. It is, as we would have expected, exactly like the Glossier Stretch Concealer in the form of a foundation, but I don't think that the Glossier Stretch Concealer should be a foundation. And that's my hot take, because it's just not long wearing, you know? Like a skin tint, the Glossier skin tint, that's a great product, and it actually has a lot of tenacity. It keeps its integrity on the skin. It has quite a bit of silicone in it, and so it's low coverage, but it does behave like a high performance makeup. And this seems to have like too much coverage and just like too much skincare in it. It's like slushy. It's just not for me. Quickly, a couple of products that I don't have in my hands anymore because I gave them to Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
It's because the shade ranges were so strange. So the Guerlain Terracotta Latin and also the Gucci Fluide Debutante, I can't remember. The one that came out this year, I'll put pictures of them on the screen. Both were, when I bought them, in neutral shades, either wildly yellow or wildly green. And they worked great for her because she has a very similar skin tone to me, which is like slightly more olive undertones. But the problem is I don't even know what I think of those foundations, because when I bought my neutral shade at the high price point that they were such bad shade matches that like I couldn't really get my head around the formula. I ended up buying another one of the Guerlain Terracotta Latin. I bought it in the rose undertone and it worked. It did, and I think it was kind of like a satin matte or whatever, and so I was like, this isn't really for me. They said it was going to be a hydrated matte or like a hydrated satin or something. Like it sounded like it could be something. The school bus is home. It sounded like it was going to be something like the Chanel Vita Lumiere Aqua, which is a really great foundation for me like in the summertime when I want, you know, medium coverage and a little bit of like a satin, a little bit of a satin. And I thought it was gonna be something like that and it just kind of wasn't. It just wasn't for me. So those were both passes. I don't have them anymore because I gave them away. They are now rehomed to someone who actually loves them. We talk about, you know, like those two things are for someone, they're just not for me. And if you have my similar taste and needs and things like that, then don't do it kind of thing, especially because they're so expensive. This is like an all out, like, don't do it. Like, this is just a wholesale, like, what were they thinking product. This is the Bare Minerals Original Pure Serum Radiant Natural Liquid Foundation. This is so beautiful. And then it's like it's haunted. You put it on your skin and you're like, oh my God, that's so pretty. And then as you start putting other things on, it goes, nope. And you're like, what? And then you're like trying to apply something on top and it's like, nope. Like, it's just like out to get you because it's not drying down. It's like someone took the Kosas tinted oil, added a little something to it to be like, no, it's a foundation. And then, you know, sold it to the masses. And so when I put it on, I was like, yeah, this is gorgeous, but it does not behave like a foundation. It does not dry down at all. And so it's like all this coverage and it really bait and switches you. I just was very frustrated by this because it's not even that it's bad when you put it on. It's like it just makes all the rest of your makeup terrible. And I don't recommend it. This is technically, I guess, a complexion product. This is the Rare Beauty Light Under Eye Brightener. And I found it to just be like, huh? Like, the color of it is so close to a concealer that it's not color correcting, which, you know, who knows if that's what they meant to do, but it did come in shades. And the other problem is this little glass onion that they put on the end of this thing, this metal applicator. I mean, I'm talking like it doesn't carry any product. It's aggravating. And so I just found that I didn't want to use it. It really is just kind of like an iridescent serum version of a concealer. It looks like a liquid version of that melt powder. That's exactly what that looks like. So I just didn't find it to be useful. Someone commented actually on my last video, they were like, travel used to be so much easier. Like these makeup items that are considered like a part of your, you know, regular makeup routine now just didn't used to exist. We didn't have highlighter, we didn't have color corrector, you know what I mean? It was just like a handful of things, and like if you wanted something bronzy, you chose like a brown blush kind of thing. It wasn't this like constant, you know what I mean, one product for every step kind of thing. Because like when they said that, I was trying to draw a line in my mind of like, how did we get here? And I think it's, you know, the beauty YouTube kind of driving so much consumption and coming from a place of being very heavily influenced by like theatrical makeup and things that are under a lot of lights and stuff, that like, you know, makeup artist oriented skills and tools became a lot more popular or known in the makeup community at large. And so like those kinds of products had existed, but just like not in the mainstream. And so it was like that kind of was popularized by YouTube, but also makeup in general was popularized by YouTube. And there was just like higher demand for people just to I got money burning a hole in my pocket. Give me something to spend it on. The makeup companies were like, I don't know, let's make a color corrector, I guess, whatever, you know? And so this really like rings of that, where I'm like, this is a step in my routine that I will never need. Like that's just not, and if I did, I would use a brightening product that was like peach, or I would use something green, you know, to cancel out red or whatever. I use this almost every day, the Cicapair Tiger Grass from Dr. Jart, but like this is just this is a step in my routine that just it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like I've never in my life thought, you know what I need? Like an iridescent kind of serum underneath my concealer. I don't know. I mean, maybe if it had had like a real functional doe foot, I would have felt more apt to use it. Like, I don't know, maybe I would have liked it more, but it's just kind of like, it didn't hit any marks for me. Like I said, there are the ones I don't prefer, and then there are the ones where I'm like, don't do it. And the reason that I say don't do it here is because I feel like this is a misrepresentation of what this product is supposed to do. So this is the Kosas Glow IV Vitamin Infused Skin Enhancer. I'm so glad it's the end of the year so I can stop beating the horse on this, because it's just like, okay, Khaki, like we get it. Like this came out a long time ago, so it's like I can stop talking about how I don't like it. The thing here was like, you know, it came in a PR package where all the models had the most gorgeous skin, you know, under the light, and it looked like it was like really sun-kissed and kind of lit from within. And I was excited about something that says that it's like vitamin infused skin enhancer. I was expecting it to be kind of illuminating, kind of skincare-y, something like the Auric Glow Lust or even the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter, but it is way overloaded with inconsistent shimmer pigment. I'm gonna blend this like all the way out as much as I can so that I can show you, like, you know, not just a glob of product here, but when it dries down, it's both the pigment load and the irregular shape of the actual shimmer pigments that is just giving something really unforgiving on the skin. It's so iridescent, it might as well be eyeshadow, and the way that if you get really close up on my hand, it really accentuates every little groove in my skin, every little crack, every little cranny, every little hair. It's something that, oof, as it dries down, it really looks wrong. Like, it's kind of matte for something that's shimmery. And so I can't even tell. I mean, it's just a really unflattering texture on the skin. It's a real shame. Y'all know that Kosas has my heart in a lot of ways, but like, that's yucky. It's yucky up close. Like, I would not want someone to see me with that on my face. It's a matte shimmer, and it just, oy vey. Oh, while we're at it, Kosas, let's just talk about it. So Kosas really committed the cardinal sin this year of making something incredibly forgettable. I literally forgot about it until I opened a drawer. I was like, oh no, I gotta talk about that. Oh no. Like, there's really not much to say about this. This is the Kosas Undressed palette. We have 8 shades, 7 mattes, 1 shimmer. I'll say what I always say. I would have done all of the colors differently even if I were sticking to this theme, especially the 1 shimmer you chose. They're pretty stiff. It's talc free, yay, but I'm pretty sure everything's about to be talc free because of Europe. But the 1 shimmer you chose, I like that color, but it's so unabashedly warm that, like, it's not intuitive to have that be the only shimmer in your palette. Make a topper. Make like a Makeup by Mario celestial topper in there that kind of enhances anything that's in there and makes it look sparkly, but that's just a satin, you know what I mean? A satin foil that is a color. It's just copper, you know? And like, that doesn't really go with everything here. Basically, that says to me, like, if you want a shimmery lid, we're boxing you into one look, just from a color theory standpoint. It just really bugs me. And the formula's fine, but like, if you're gonna make a basics palette, you have to do something to not make it so forgettable. And this was like, we forgot about it before it even came out. Woo! The distinction of highest expectations and most disappointing is the Vast Lash from Victoria Beckham. I mean, this is pretty new. Like, this is a pretty new tube. Like, if I could figure out how to make it work, I could still get use out of it. But it's a tubing mascara that has a great amount of volume, a nice brush to it, you know, that's like much bigger than the Future Lash. So it's for people who, you know, want those big blown out fluffy lashes. But it being a tubing mascara, it still, like, over the course of the day, just like melts and deposits like right here on my eyes, and I'm like, well, then it's not a tubing mascara. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with tubing mascaras that don't. And it does tube, it washes off in tubes, but it doesn't like keep it from smudging, which is like the reason that I use a tubing mascara, is for the easy wash off and so that it doesn't smudge. Can I just say, because I'm gonna do a little segment at the end, like they do at like the US Open, where they're like, in remembrance. It's like dark, but I'm going to do a little segment at the end of, like, you know, all the brands that we said goodbye to this year, which sucks. But among them being Aether, one of the greatest regrets of my life is that I owned Aether's tubing mascara that never was released, because tubing mascaras have microplastics in them, and that was just like not in the Aether ethos, you know? But I want you to know, Tyla, the owner of Aether, made the best tubing mascara I have ever used at the end of like 2019, and I was like waiting and she did end up putting out the Big Bang mascara, which was good. It was really good. But that tubing mascara was so good, y'all, and it's just the mascara that will never be. Any hoodles. All right, next. Ooh, let's talk about another Makeup by Mario product, because do I love his skin enhancer, the bronzer? Yes, and it is worth mentioning. And of course, in the next video, when I talk about my best of the best, you'll see a lot of these brands also mentioned in my best of the best. Like I'm not like a devotee to one brand or like hate a whole other brand, whatever. Unfortunately, when the skin enhancer formula went over into blush, it really exposed the weaknesses of the formula to me, because I, you know, see people like Tom annoyed by the skin enhancer, which is a bronzer, being kind of non-existent on the skin for people who are really expecting a bronzer, and that like sometimes you should maybe get the deeper shade or whatever. I love that stuff. I love it so much because I love a super forgiving bronzer. I also like to be able to have like really even gradients between, you know, all the color differences in my face, and it's just like my eye goes to like hard lines and hard delineations, and I always want to blend them as well as I can, and that's a really good product for setting you up for success. It just does a good job of like bridging all your makeup together, but like not everybody cares about that, and I totally get it. Thing is, I'm a blush girly. I want my blush to blush. Okay, today the only blush that I'm wearing is the Chanel Mauve, and I just like went in. I put it on my eyes, I'm wearing Chanel Boy on my lips. I'm just like, yes, give me the cool tones. This does not blush. It just doesn't. It's meant to be very similar to the bronzer formula in the sense that like when you put it on, it's like, you know what I mean? And like, that's fine, it is, but like for the amount of work that it took to get it to go onto my skin, it just kind of kicked everything else up. It's not as dewy as the bronzer is. I feel like like this isn't the exact same formula, I could be wrong, but the bronzer feels like it adds so much hydration to my skin, and there's something about this that like it doesn't, and so it picks my makeup back up, and so it's impossible to get it to build. And so that's more of like an expectation versus reality from me. If you want something that's a sheer blush that no matter how much you put on, it's not going to build to like really, I don't know, wild saturation. For some people, that's a good thing. And like the YSL new blushes are like that too. For whatever reason, I like those better than this. They feel like they're easier to use because they're in a squirt container. There's something about this that like, as you're applying it, it feels like it won't go onto your skin because it doesn't have enough either wetness or grip or something to it, and it just doesn't build. And then once you have it on, if you do want to build something on top of it, I don't know, it's a little bit too gummy to put like more powder than on top of it. It just wasn't for me, for my expectations. Alrighty, I can't believe this was this year. Wow. Tarte Sculpt Tape. This is a contour. I've got news for you. I've got an axe to grind. That's not a contour. It's just not, okay? Tarte decided that they were going to try and piggyback on the success of the wands from Charlotte Tilbury, and a lot of brands did, but this was the same price as the ones from Charlotte Tilbury, and so they really set themselves up to be like, well, this is going to be just as good or better, and it's just not. Like, it's a bronzer color, and it's not even a good formula. Tom and I get cheesed off when Charlotte Tilbury has a win because we're just like, their stuff's so expensive and it's not always good, but when it's good, it's so good. And so it makes us like have to, you know, keep paying attention. But I've spent so much money on Charlotte Tilbury on disappointing Charlotte Tilbury products, and then ones that I'm just like, every once in a while I'm just like, ah, that blush is a revelation. And I know that Tom actually really likes the contour wand, and so this is just kind of frankly insulting from Tarte. It just feels so phoned in. It is literally not a contour. And I will say the same thing I've said about it the whole time. It looks like a stock photo that you didn't pay for the rights for. Like, why did you do that? It looks like they forgot, you know, image missing, image coming soon. Oh God, don't wipe your nose with a makeup wipe. Oh, the smell, bleh. Okay, next. Whew. This is one that I had such high expectations for and was so hype for, as we used to say, that I bought the whole set when it came out, and my goodness, aren't they pretty? I wanted these to work so bad. God, I wanted them to work. This is the NARS Afterglow Liquid Blush. There are two issues here. The same two issues that are with any product, right? One is the formula, and the other is the colors. I mean, those are really kind of the only things that can go wrong, right? So this is Brazen, and it was during the summer when I was in a beige and coral mood. So I was really excited about this being a lovely coral. And can I just say, these are beautiful. They are serum blushes. They go on so beautifully. They don't stick around. The color just kind of, they just don't last. And like for all of the beauty tea and the serum and the everything, like I wanted to stick around, you know, especially because I felt like they actually layered really beautifully. That's something that a liquid blush doesn't always do. And I feel like I've never had one, but I feel like there's a lot of like positive connotations attached to the other NARS liquid blushes. So I assumed this would be like an improvement even on that. It just kind of wasn't. God, it's so pretty. Look at that finish on the skin. It's gorgeous, but it just doesn't stick around. And the other problem is that the colors just are like really on the nose. This is something that I've heard, and I think of Hannah, like I don't always try to like borrow my feelings from other influencers, but when I kind of hear something that resonates with me, it sticks with me. Hannah Louise Poston is and has always been kind of like a, you know, a watcher and a student, and used to be a devotee of NARS as a brand. You know, always kind of saw NARS as like a brand that was covetable and aligned with how she wanted her makeup to look and feel, kind of thing. And so she always, you know, kept an eye on what they were doing, and has lost interest in them, you know, in past years because, or in recent years I should say, because of like a couple of main things. The foremost one seems to be that like they used to be more of like a luxury fashion house type color brand. Like they used to do more adventurous, more niche, more nuanced kind of colors, and what they've done is they've kind of gone the Pat McGrath route and like decided to just stop innovating in that respect. And so the colors of the Afterglow liquid blushes, as much as they looked like they were going, like when you saw kind of the bouquet of the swatches, you were like, oh wow, like they're different from each other, they seem nuanced. When I got on my hand, I was like, yeah, they're all pretty pink. There's a berry, there's a lavender. Dolce Vita was gorgeous and had absolutely nothing to do with powder Dolce Vita. So it just all felt like kind of messy, you know, because I really thought, I was like, well, if I love this shade, this Dolce Vita shade, because it's like that perfect rusty color, if I don't like this formula, I should be able to go to Dolce Vita, which is one of their kind of like Pillow Talk or whatever, you know, it's supposed to be a color that is in a lot of different formulas, but it's a completely different color. The same way Pillow Talk is a completely different color in every formula in the powder blush. And so that was just really disappointing. So again, my sister just visited and I gave her a bunch of these because, you know, she tends to love a lot of things that I don't. She doesn't have these like super niche expectations of everything that I do. And so she's just like, this is a pretty color. This is a nice formula. I'm pleased by this, you know? They're not awful, but they disappointed me, especially as someone who was so excited about them that I bought the entire line myself. I have a couple more on my list here that I don't have in my hand because I gave them away to people. So the Chantecaille Quad, I have gone blue in the face talking about how I just don't understand the Chantecaille Quad. I'm not going to beat it any longer. I don't think that the formula is bad. I just think that the color story is bad. I think that it was a dumb thing to spend my money on. The Pat McGrath liquid eyeshadows, I don't know if I got rid of them or if I just buried them somewhere. I have no idea. When we do the declutter, we will probably run across them and I will declutter them because Pat McGrath made a liquid eyeshadow that's completely water soluble. I don't want anything water soluble on my eyes. My eyes are full of water, and so like they're just gonna go everywhere. And I'm talking like the Surratt eyeshadows, the new one, the little spongy guys, they say they're water soluble, but like you can lick your finger and they're not going anywhere. So I don't know necessarily about the formulation of just something being water soluble and what that means. But in the case of the Pat McGrath liquid eyeshadows, it means that if you lick your finger, it's gonna just wipe the heck right off. They're just not for me. LH Cosmetics also put out a water-based liquid eyeshadow this year, so that should go on the list too. It's just, I don't understand the logic there. And it's a shame because they're pretty. The Mango People multi-stick, another one that I couldn't get to build. It's so thick and it's so like hard to get it to go under your skin, and I want my blush to build, and it's a shame because it was such a pretty color. Give it to Steph, she loves it. Beauty and Hyped, she loves it. So again, it's not like a huge across the board, like, oh my God, stay away from it. But just like, if you have my expectations, it's not slippy and it's not buildable. It's pigmented, but for whatever reason, it won't build because it's so thick that it just picks itself back up, at least on me. And then, unpopular opinion, I don't like the Valentino Liqui Rosso. This entire segment is just here to piss Steph off, honestly, because these are like her favorite things. I think she ended up buying like all of them or something. So the Liqui Rosso really bugged me. I have no idea where it is. It's $40. I think I might have given mine to her. Probably, I hope so. And it's got this applicator on it that's for precision application on your lips. It's got this weird doe foot on it. It's like sharp and like, you know, angular. Well, it makes it very painful in my opinion. I'm not trying to be overly sensitive, but it was painful to get it out of the tube to use it as a blush. And I felt like it was just like a dissatisfying blush for someone who likes blush that builds, okay? And I do. And I just couldn't get it to build. I couldn't get it to come out of the tube. When I did use it on my lips, I didn't like the formula. And I think that the doe foot, for all of its precision, for all of its advantages, it hurts. They could have made it less sharp, okay? I don't know. Anybody else? Okay, and the rest of these I think are things that are not new, but I tried them for the first time this year. So the first one being Explosive Brown from YSL. I don't know if this has been discontinued or what, but like, did I hope that this was going to be a bedroomized brown for me? Oh yeah. Did I watch and become aware of this product for the first time on Hannah's channel? Yeah. Did she like it? No. So like, I knew I was taking a big risk going into it because I could see it. I could see what it was doing, but I like the sequin mono shadow in the other one. It's a peachy, they call it something nude, but it's like sparkly peach. I love it. It makes my eyes look super threatening. It's like unapproachable makeup. Basically, it's like, leave me alone. You don't know what I'm capable of. Like, that's what that one does. And I was hoping that this one was gonna do something similar, just in a different color, but like this being the Sequin Quash Glitter Shot Eyeshadow in 04, yeah, it is so dark on me, like so high contrast. It doesn't have the sparkle load that the other one does either. And it's mostly green. It's a very sooty kind of green. And also, I mean, we can't get out of this without saying Explosive Brown is hilarious. That's just a hilarious thing for anything to be called. And the fact that they were like, yep, print it. It's just like A+ YSL. Thank you for the humor. This is actually a placeholder because I don't know if I can even find it, but I got the whole vault of the Milk makeup sticks this year, like in PR, and they sent me, obviously, you know, the contours, and the contour, quote unquote, in my shade, I believe is called Toasted. And I saw so many influencers buckle at the hands of that contour this year. People with fairer skin than I, and it's a really hard product to use. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I am saying that you have to be so specifically fair cool to be able to use it without it looking like the dreaded dirt stripe. I watched Lauren Mae Beauty go, yep, I'm just gonna dab, 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 and then she starts blending it. She's like, oh no. Like, it's a really difficult formula to manipulate once it's on the skin. So it's like, if you have like done the stripe that you would typically do and start trying to blend it, like game over anyway. But I found it to be a color that was so unforgiving, just so punishing. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. And honestly, like, for all of Milk's, I don't know, like legacy presence of having those sticks for so long, makeup has moved on. And that's why they have their Bionic blush and their Bionic bronzer and their Bionic glow, which are amazing. I cannot recommend them enough. They're so gorgeous. They dry down to a glycerin finish. They're gorgeous. I don't know why we're still futzing with these. Of all the La Perla things that I bought this year to try, I really liked a lot of them. I think their lipsticks are immaculate. Talk about a kind of like subtle luxury fashion house that is like doing really interesting things with color. Like, their lipsticks are just really interesting, like unabashedly weird colors. And I adore the lipsticks that I got from them. They became things that like transformed the way I thought about me wearing lipstick. The formulas are great and I smell like vanilla. It's just all fantastic. And the component is really pretty. They're not crazy, crazy, crazy expensive. You know, they're not Hermes expensive, and they're replaceable. You know, you can keep the lipstick case forever kind of thing. So all that to say, I also tried a few of their other things. I tried their mascara, which I think is fine. As far as like a non-tubing mascara formula, I liked it okay. I also tried their brow product, which I think is fine. It's too expensive, but I think that it's fine. This is their liquid eyeliner. And like, for all of my best efforts, I could not get this to work. Am I a liquid eyeliner person? Not really. But it's brown and I was excited about that. I tried this on their applicator. I tried this on other brushes. I tried everything with this, and it's in glass. One of the things about the component that kind of bugs me is this looks like a component where someone took the regular lid off. Like, this is what the lid looks like, if a little bit smaller. When you buy something from Kierweiss and like you're supposed to put their like metal component lid on top of it, it looks bald. You know, it looks naked, and I don't love that. But the main thing that I had an issue with here, like if you are a liquid eyeliner person, was just that, well, A, that brush is not precise enough. It's actually a little bit too long, I feel like. but B, it freezes. It's very waterproof, and so it freezes down so fast, and you can't keep it out of your eyelashes because of this applicator. There's just something about it that's like really loaded up with product. So it's like you would want to get all of this product off of there, and you kind of can't. And so by the time you actually are like trying to draw a line on your lash line, this, as you're putting it on, boom, it touches your eyelashes, all your eyelashes freeze together, and it's just game over. So I just don't recommend this, unfortunately. All right, and the last one here before we get into who we said goodbye to this year, which is a new segment, but I feel like we need to do it. This is my last one here. This is the Gen C Arch Support. I think that's what it's called, right? Arch Support? I'm not sure, but yeah, I have it in medium brown. Medium brown was too dark. They ended up sending taupe, and taupe was a better match, but nothing has ever broken my eyebrows out like this. And I heard it from multiple people. This is such a waterproof, waxy, hold your brows for dear life product that if you are not diligent, like, and I just kind of want to get ahead of it. It's like, okay, if that's what you need and you want your brows to be stuck because they're stubborn, make sure that you are prepared to wash this out of your eyebrows with a lot of diligence, because I was not, because I'm used to using the Kosas. My eyebrows are not very stubborn. Like, the Kosas doesn't bother me. I can use it forever. I feel like I could use it long past its expiration. It'd be fine. This gave me such horrible, like, cystic breakouts all the way through my eyebrows that it was very, very, like, instantly noticeable. Every time I would, like, stop using it and then start using it again, I was like, oh, that's what's causing it. So it's like pimples in your eyebrows. So, and now let us commence with brands that we had to say goodbye to this year, and also products that were discontinued this year. Staying all the way to the end with me on this, you know, nonsensical journey of me just complaining about things. I always say this, for like the first year that I did this video, someone commented, does she like anything? And I was like, you came to a regrets video. So in this video, no. I'm sorry, but the next one is going to be an absolute parade of fantastic products, because this year has been so good to us. The makeup was just makeuping this year, just across the board. So it was a lot harder to find things that really bugged me to talk about in this video than it's going to be to talk about. I mean, I'm probably gonna forget things in the next video because things were just that good. Prepare for that, you know, plan your snacks and stuff accordingly, because it's gonna be a doozy. It's gonna be a long video. I'm gonna like make sure to stay hydrated, and I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up on it. That'd be real nice of y'all. If this is my first time, your first time, talking in my, if
Herb Ervlinger, Bert Herngeif, Irv Herblinger, Bing Livehanger, Livelink, Bert Herkern.
This is your first time seeing my face talking in a video, and you're not yet subscribed, then you know, cool people subscribe. It's what I heard. So subscribe if you're cool. It'd be cool if you did. I'll put a video up here that I think that you'll enjoy if you liked this one. And I love you very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.